views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And hello and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Darren Jaime, and today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up on today's show, we'll give you an update on what's been going on right here in the Bronx. Plus, the Republican Senate fails to come up with an agreement with the GOP health care bill. Meanwhile, President Trump's longtime associate, Roger Stone, will testify before the House Intelligence next month. We'll discuss more about these issues and more when we sit down with one of our political commentators. Then after that, we're going to hear about how one organization is going about helping New Yorkers fight drug addiction, such as opiates. And then we're going to sit down with an attorney from the Legal Aid Society to discuss the rights of homeowners that may be facing forced foreclosures. And then next, we'll hear from an organization that empowers communities to have a healthy green environment. And lastly, you're going to hear about a new pilot grant program that is granted the South Bronx and Central Brooklyn with funding for cultural arts programs. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I'm your host, Darren Jaime, and today is Wednesday, June 28th. Of course, you're watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. Now, we want to encourage you to stay connected to us, and you can find out more about us at Twitter, BronxNet TV, and Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. Well, lots been going on here this week, but we're going to get you informed first with some Bronx updates. Well, the MTA is getting set to release a mobile and web app giving disabled riders easier access to booking rides. The app will allow disabled riders to book and track trips online, along with getting cabs without having to pay up front. Now, the new idea comes amidst complaints from riders who say they've often experienced missed as well as late pickups. Now, as the app gets set to launch later this year, it's already receiving mixed reactions. Dustin Jones, a disabled advocate for the Center for Independence of the Disabled, pointed out that 70% of Access Ride users are elderly and simply won't be able to use the app. Stephen Lopiano, who is the vice president of paratransit for the MTA, says the agency's heard the concern of the riders and is striving to fix them. Well, in other news, Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. and Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams are speaking out, calling for greater equity amongst gifted students in the city. The BPs released a new report entitled Fixing the Pipeline, Solutions to Disparities in Gifted Education in New York City. Now, the report includes several recommendations, such as requiring all students to have equal access to gifted and talented programs in kindergarten, as well as students to be tested for gifted and talented programs in kindergarten. And the borough president says he's hoping that more equity can be expanded for gifted learners and that these programs can be implemented citywide. Mayor Bill de Blasio and Governor Cuomo were among the local leaders to march at the 48th annual New York City Pride Parade. Now, many marched down the street with many colors to celebrate the LGBTQ community and their contributions. The parade also included the first transgender FDNY woman and advocate, along with other LGBTQ leaders. The parade began on 36th and 5th Avenue and ended on Greenwich Street. Well, hundreds of New Yorkers will now have the opportunity to receive IT training. Empire State Development will partner up with Cognizant to create a training program to help New Yorkers access career opportunities. The program will be run at the Urban Development Center at 804 East 138th Street in Mott Haven. Now, the program is set to have no cost for training for about 650 individuals, and Cognizant is also set to hire 350 in its training program. First class is set to start July 20th, and it's open for applicants 18 years or older. Applications for the program are available online at 4perscholars, or I should say 4perscholas.org. And once again, that's 4perscholas.org, and there you can get your application. Carnegie Hall will be paying tribute to master and music legend Sylvia Olden Lee. The concert will feature performances by the Schiller Institute and the Harlem Opera Theater. The concert is set to take place June 29th at 7:30. Police officers and members of the community gathered together at the 40th Precinct Community Council Fellowship Breakfast, celebrating the Community Outreach Initiative, helping to bring crime down. Our reporter Arlene Makoko was out in the field, and she brings us the story.
They're with Chief Nicunin. They're doing a great job.
Police Commissioner James O'Neill delivered remarks at the 40th Precinct Community Council Fellowship Breakfast, praising their neighborhood community outreach initiative as a success in driving crime down.
Crime fighting is a shared responsibility. Keeping the people of the city safe is a shared responsibility. I think with neighborhood policing, that's our way forward, and things are looking good. Things are looking bright.
At the event held at the Metropolitan College of New York, Assistant Chief Larry Nicunin, commanding officer of Patrol Bureau the Bronx, was also there to recognize the community and the 40th Precinct, led by Deputy Inspector Hennessy, who was praised for his quick actions following the recent beating of an African immigrant.
The Bronx is currently down we're down 18 murders this year, which is a tremendous accomplishment. We're also down 6 shootings so far this year. This is on top of a record-setting shooting reduction year last year. So we're doing a great job. The 4-0 precinct, there's no increase in shootings, and the 4-0 is down 7 murders. That's 2 versus 9.
On the beat and here getting recognition, police officers Henry Reyes and Clement Krug.
With the new program that we have, the NCO program, we are able to reach out to the community in a different way, in a different way of policing. Though that's one of the reasons why we have such a high impact.
Each year, leaders of the 40th Precinct Community Council, led here by Gabriel de Jesus, recognize honorees that make an impact in the community. This year, they include John Castamatidis and Joe Ithier, both from Red Apple Group, both who also grew up in the Bronx.
To come back a couple of years later through the efforts of John Castamatidis to help with the Christmas and Three Kings Day that the 40th Precinct and the Community Council does for the children of the South Bronx was something I couldn't pass up.
I think the people that should really be recognized are the police officers that are doing a great job. They're doing a great job keeping our city safe, the Bronx safe, and keeping our kids active.
As you can see, a lot of excitement over this year's crime stats. The breakfast this year served as an opportunity to give a personal thank you. For BronxNet, this is Arlene Makoko.
And thank you, Arlene. Stay with us because we have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll be back with the latest in politics.
Every Monday night at 9, we talk to the borough's movers and shakers about the latest in Bronx politics, education, healthcare, arts and culture, and literally any and everything that's important to the people of the Bronx. There's a reason why Bronxites have been turning to Bronx Talk for more than 20 years, because Bronx Talk is about you and me, the people of the Bronx. So we'll see you Monday night at 9.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's not something you buy.
Or something you take.
In fact, there's only one way to get it.
It has to be given to you, freely.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape. Consent.
If you don't get it, you don't get it. It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Well, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell told Republican senators that he was delaying the vote on the GOP health care bill until after the 4th of July. Now, this comes as a disappointment to many Republican leaders who are all but looking forward to passing the bill this week. Also, President Trump's associate, Roger Stone, is set to testify in regards to the Russian probe. Joining us now to discuss this and ongoing health care battles and Russian investigation, we welcome now our political commentator and the owner of Retrovision Media, Lee Bynes, to the studio. And Lee, good to have you.
Good to be back.
Look, let's get right at it. First of all, the GOP not having enough votes in the Senate to pass the health care bill. 9 are presently holding out. We know that they wanted to have this done before July the 4th, but the truth is many are wondering whether or not July the 4th, during the July the 4th break, is going to be a lot of pressure put on these 9 to really get back and vote in the affirmative.
Well, it's going to be as much pressure on the 9 by the administration as it is on the 9 by their constituents, who they have to answer to over the course of the next few days, that there is no bill, there is no vote, and as far as I'm concerned, there is no way forward. I'd like to pose this possibility or this perspective that I certainly have said on this show many times that I don't think the Republicans or the GOP ever had a bill in mind in the first place. They've had 7 years to come up with an idea, a plan, proposal that they could put forth on day one to tell the American people this is what health care looks like. Thus far, we have absolutely nothing. The fact that they're fighting amongst themselves, the Democrats are not in this picture whatsoever. Any expectation that the Democrats would want to play a role in this is quite is far-fetched at this point, simply because of the fact that the Democrats' position on this issue is well established. If anything that they're going to be involved with is going to be to repair Obamacare, not replace it. One of the things I think I also like to mention is that I think that both sides of the issue of this issue is a little bit disingenuous on the Democrats' part as well, because if you look at the bill that's been proposed by the House as well as the Senate, the big gorilla in the room that's really driving up costs and making sure that healthcare is primarily unaffordable for a vast majority of Americans is the pharmaceutical industry. Because if you take a look at the prices that drugs cost in America, because here's the deal: in a lot of countries that the same pharmaceutical companies are selling their products here in the United States, they're not allowed to sell for those prices in Canada, in France, and in the Great Britain. But they're allowed to do it here simply because we have this free market system that with literally no controls on capitalism whatsoever. Other countries have made carve-outs. They do have a free market system going on as well, but they have carved out basic tenets of how they're going to support their communities.
Let me jump in here right quick and ask a question, walking back for a second. When
Sure.
we talked about the president met with Senate leaders.
Yes.
And he had that independent meeting with Senate leaders. Of course, the press was right there. But noticeably on the right hand and the left hand, 2 people who voted not in favor of the health care proposal. Political pressure, yes or no?
Well, it's going to be a substantial amount of political pressure from the White House to get these folks to come on board. But again, if they are voting with their conscience, if they're voting with their heart, if they're voting for a bill that they can say that President Trump has said that he wants a bill with heart. Well, anything that's being voted on right now is anything but heart. In fact, I would say it's the exact opposite. It's heartless. I took a look at some of the numbers and the way it shook out. If this bill passes, which I'm absolutely certain it will not in its present form, is that someone who's 60 years old with an income somewhere around $56,000 a year, under the Barack Obama plan, that was your fees, what out of your pocket would be $5,800. If this goes through, for that same individual or individuals, they would be paying $20,500. That's the jump, 75% increase. Where these people are going to get that money if they plan on eating throughout the course of the year is extremely unfortunate.
Yeah, let me bring it up to speed here. Roger Stone, who's also a longtime associate of President Trump, is set to testify next month in the Russian probe. Now, we know that Roger Stone says, listen, when it comes to Russia, there is no collusion. There is nothing wrong here. But what can we expect to see from this? Is it going to hurt or help the White House with Roger Stone being able to testify?
Difficult to say at this point because most of the testimony that's going to come forth in the very near future is going to be off camera. It's going to be behind closed doors. With regards to what he has to say, he's looking forward to, or so he says, to have this event public because he wants to be able to publicly confront or contest what Podesta had to say in his hearings yesterday. Now, Podesta was under oath when he made those statements. So Roger Stone has been coming out saying that he wants to refute those lies. If any lies are being told, we're talking about another he said event, and there's no way to go any further with that until the investigation has reached its conclusion. So that being said, a lot of the information coming out to the contrary by the president, fake news, and things like that will stand until we get something more definitive.
You brought up the word fake news. I want to go right there because I know that you had some interesting commentary to say with regards to the president's allegations of fake news.
And it's not that I want to defend the media or what we do to give the public what they need, but I think there needs to be a little bit more pushback on what was said at the press briefing yesterday, simply because CNN made a huge mistake. CNN had the middle road with regards to political talk. Everybody knows where they are on MSNBC, Fox News, it's a given. But CNN had been trusted, and when these three reporters made the mistake of advancing a story that they didn't really have all of the facts on, they gave the Trump administration a foil to work with, to give them a gotcha moment. See, we told you this was all fake news. But what I'd like to do at this point, there was two very, very enterprising New York Times reporters, David Leonhardt and Stuart Thomas. They did a... Stuart Thompson, yeah, there you go, you read the story. They did a comparison of all of they listed all of the lies, verifiable lies that Donald Trump, not his staff, Donald Trump said has espoused over the last 5 months since he's been in office. This list, I'm sure that your audience can't see this, 10-point print. I had to do that to get all of these lies on 7 pages. And page after page after page, he's been found out about for telling mistruths. So if you have that the president has almost told a lie, and a big one, on each and every day that he's been in office for the last 154 days, I would match that against what CNN and the so-called fake media has been doing, because they've been, I think at this point, the media is being held to an extremely tight standard. And so any mistake, the slightest whatsoever, gives the Trump administration ammunition to call everything that's being said about him negatively as untrue. And that's a very, very dangerous place for us to be. As media people, it's a dangerous place for the country to be, because when you get down to the bottom line, the people have to believe somebody. Eventually, somebody has to maintain the trust. And we're in some very, very dangerous territory right now. So I would say that if I had to bet on the media doing its job, and I had to place that against Donald Trump's record for telling the truth, I would stick with the media right now until proven otherwise.
Lee Bynes, our political analyst, also the owner of Retrovision Media. Thanks for coming and sharing with us.
Good to be here.
Of course, we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
I'll do it.
All right, look, taking a quick break. We'll be back with more shows. Stay with us. We're coming right back right after this.
I'm only 17, but I know about investing. Believe in something, buy shares in it, watch it grow. So, what if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. I could be one of the first college graduates from my family. the first philanthropist from my neighborhood. And if I'm the first, then maybe there's a second and a third. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow. My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
As the number of overdose deaths continue to increase over the years, organizations such as Odyssey House New York City are dedicated to helping people overcome drug abuse and alcohol abuse. Joining us now to discuss the opioid epidemic along with the organization's programs, we welcome now the Odyssey House New York NYC Senior Director of Outpatient Services, Mary Callahan. And thank you for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you for having us and getting this important topic out into the community.
It is very important when we talk about, opioid use. A lot of people are, being affected. Families are being devastated. But first of all, let's talk a little bit about Odyssey House and the work that you guys are doing, really in working with families.
Yeah, so Odyssey House is a community-based organization that has been in existence in New York City since 1967. We just had our 50th anniversary. We do work with individuals and families, providing community-based substance abuse treatment services, mental health services, supportive housing, and family services. We cover the continuum from recovery on the front end of treatment, where we're introducing the possibility of recovery to clients that we meet in the community by opening up recovery centers in the community. And then we provide treatment across the board, from outpatient treatment to residential long-term treatment, and also provide housing at the end of treatment for individuals who qualify.
So when we talk about those people who are seeing treatment, are we seeing rises in numbers? What are you saying?
Yeah, so New York Times did a study from 1980 up until 2016, and they noted a rise from 10,000 to almost 65,000 deaths due to opioids in really across the country. In Odyssey House, over the last couple of years, we've seen a rise of 5 to 6% in our residential and outpatient treatment programs.
That's a big number.
It is a big number.
And a lot of people are talk about the opioid issue, because a lot of people are really suffering dealing with this, and this has become the drug of today.
Yeah, I really want to say the reason why, there's multiple reasons that opiates have risen so tremendously over the past several years. I think a lot of it began back in early 2000s when there became more available, stronger types of opiate medication, such as OxyContin, which are really prescribed quite freely in emergency rooms and in primary care practices to individuals. So individuals who wouldn't ordinarily be introduced to substances like heroin may be introduced because they had back pain or something of that nature, and the doctor may have prescribed an opiate to them, and it's a pretty quick transition for some people. For some people, you take a drug and it really doesn't affect you at all. Others, because of physiological reasons that are just in existence, just like some people have high cholesterol, some people are predisposed to become more dependent on substances. So these individuals are now prescribed this medication, which created by the pharmaceutical industry, which became stronger and stronger than like a Vicodin medication, and pretty soon they're taking it more and more frequently. Doctors may stop prescribing it because it's not being used for the correct reason. It's now become a substance of abuse, and these individuals may transition now into street opiates such as heroin. And now that has been exacerbated because preying on vulnerable people, there's not only street heroin available, but there are really strong pharmaceutical type medications such as fentanyl, which are thousands of times more potent than heroin and are causing the rapid rise in overdose.
So when you have a family member, some people have family members or know individuals who are really being affected by this and other drugs. What is your recommendation in terms of trying to help them to get to a place? I mean, you guys always have an open door, but to create that conversation, to get somebody through the open door is really the big challenge.
Yeah, treatment really has to be seen on a continuum, and I know we do a lot, and many providers do a lot on the prevention aspect, so we go into schools and provide education on the front end. We have recovery centers in the community. We have one just opening up in the Bronx on Davidson Avenue, which is really a place where anybody can walk in and provide receive information and family family services related to substance abuse and on how to help their family and resources that are available. We also have training programs for individuals who abuse substances themselves, and also for family and friends that can teach individuals how to stop an overdose once it happens. So there's a medication that now we train many people in the community, but also it's been rolled out in the fire department and in emergency services, where everybody is equipped with a substance called naloxone. And naloxone is a quick nasal spray, 2 pumps, 4 milligrams, where an overdose can be stopped in its tracks. So we have trained many, many family members on the front end and the fire department. And I want to say that part of the reason why this has become so readily available over the last couple of years is because in New York State, we're very fortunate that we have a governor such as Governor Cuomo, and in New York City, a mayor such as Bill de Blasio, who has a strong emphasis on education, prevention, and on the community approach to healthcare.
And when we talk about this particular issue, we hear about the harmful effects. We hear about people who've died from it. But share with us a little bit. Are you experiencing a lot of recovery stories?
Yeah, so there's always great recovery stories, and I want to say that over the last year, a year or two in Odyssey House, we've had to really go from totally what we used to refer to in the treatment world as drug-free treatment because of the opiate crisis, to providing something called medication-assisted treatment, because individuals who have opioid use disorder, so now they've taken opioids for some time, and it's a very, very powerful substance that binds to molecules in the brain. And when somebody tries to stop taking opioids, what happens is often their brain does not normalize. So now, even if they're struggling and trying to move into recovery, what can happen is they relapse because of the tremendous withdrawal symptoms and because they never really get back to that normal feeling. What's normal for them when they're high on opiates, now when they stop, it feels like a low-grade depression all the time. So that's why we have now started providing medication-assisted treatment, which are things that people are familiar with, like methadone, which is one type. Another type is Suboxone, and then there's another type, Vivitrol, which is a long-acting, once-a-month injectable medication, which help with the recovery process. So individuals on opiates who previously may not have been successful with traditional treatment now have been enabled to be much more successful with medication-assisted treatment. In addition, our services include wraparound wellness services, where we introduce individuals to positive healthy behaviors like running programs and things like that. We have a running program where every year patients that we work with and staff run together in the New York City Marathon, and many individuals who participated in that program, which has been in existence since 2000, have achieved long-term recovery and come back and give back to the community over and over again for the last 17 years.
That's awesome. And so we want to tell people, if you want more information, make sure that you go to odysseyhousenyc.org, and I'm sure Mary and her staff could be able to direct you there. Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Mary Callahan, our guest here in studio. We want you to stay tuned, because guess what? We got more show coming up right after these messages, so don't go anywhere. We're coming right back.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the story of a boy who didn't talk for a long time. The boy liked things to always be the same. Any changes would scare and upset him. The unknown was an unfriendly place. The boy was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. He wasn't trying to be mean, it just made him feel uncomfortable. Sometimes he would flap his arms again and again.
One day, I found out I have something called autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I found my voice and learned all the ways I could live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Well, many homeowners that are faced with foreclosure are simply unaware of their rights when it comes to dealing with their mortgage servicer. We want to give you some insight on how to deal with this issue, and we welcome now Legal Aid Society Civil Practice Foreclosure Unit Attorney Heidi M. Rodriguez. Try saying that twice in one sentence. Good to have you, Heidi.
It's good to be here.
Good.
Thank you.
When we talk about foreclosure, obviously here in New York City, we know it's skyrocketing rents and, challenges with income, plus a whole lot of other things. A lot of New Yorkers are simply facing foreclosure. And as I said, from the outcome, sometimes a lot of people simply don't know their rights when it comes to foreclosure. So if you can, first of all, break down a little bit about how does a person get to foreclosure?
Well, there are many different reasons that bring someone to a foreclosure situation. Usually a difficulty that happens at home. Someone stops making their mortgage payment for a month and then eventually rolls over, and it's pretty much impossible for this person to catch up and bring the loan current. There will be some time before the time in which the person stopped making the mortgage payment and the time in which the lender commences a foreclosure action. There's like some type of a limbo. People don't hear from the lender other than their mortgage statements. They think everything is okay, and they think that they will be able to catch up eventually or just make a partial payment. That is not entirely true. Once the lender commences a foreclosure action, the homeowner has the option of either paying everything in full, meaning the arrears, or bring the loan current, paying off the balance due of the loan, which in most cases, as you know, is pretty much impossible, or do a loss mitigation option, which is pretty much the option that most homeowners go for. Loan modification application. That is what most people would like to do.
So break that down for somebody who understands what a loan modification is.
Basically, you do a loan modification when your income is sufficient enough, when your interest rate is a little too high. It was a loan that originated with a 7%, just to say an interest rate. It's a little too high for someone to have at this point in time. So that person is pretty much an ideal candidate for our loan modification. We submit the application hoping for the lender to bring the loan, the interest rate lower, and that's going to lower the payment for the homeowner. Sometimes we see that the escrow payments could be a little too high as well, and that is because the insurance may be too high, it's contracted by the lender. That type of issue we can provide assistance with that in order to lower the escrow payments as well, and that is going to bring your overall mortgage payment to a more affordable payment for you.
And so for people out there right now, they can get some assistance because many times, after the fact, people find out information and foreclosure's already happened, it's too far gone, but really we're trying to get people armed with the right information before time. Talk about the opportunities for people to really find out more information about this too.
Well, first of all, we provide free legal services. Many people do not really know that type of services exist out there. We provide free legal services for loss mitigation options, whether it is a loan modification or a short sale or any other type of available workout that is there for that person in particular. That is the first thing to know. The second most important thing to know is that foreclosure is not something that happens overnight. Many people think that if they receive foreclosure papers today, or if they defaulted on their loan last month, they're going to be foreclosed upon within the next 2 months. And in the state of New York, that is not possible because we are a judicial state. That means that for you to lose your home, you're going to have to go through a foreclosure process in court. The lender is going to have to start a process that will take at least a year and a half, maybe 2. It really depends on the case in particular. It depends on how fast the court makes the decisions on the different applications. But the homeowner will always know the exact state of their foreclosure process because they're going to be receiving documents throughout the whole foreclosure. They first receive letters, and then they receive summons and complaint. We assist homeowners with answers throughout the summons and complaint, and we also assist them in court for their court appearances. So that is important to know. It's not something that will happen overnight. They do have to, and I know that this is maybe little difficult for some people to understand. You have to have patience, and you have to know that this is a situation that you're not going to work out overnight. It's going to take some effort and some family effort as well.
So there are some alternatives to foreclosure. Can you share a little bit about those?
The most important one is the loan modification, because that is the one that is geared towards lowering your interest rate, extending the time of the loan, and that is a double sword because some people see that they may never end up paying up the mortgage. You may end up with a mortgage that is 40 years for you to pay it in full. However, that's bringing the mortgage payment lower, and that's making it more affordable for the homeowner, especially if we're talking about someone who is on a fixed income or some family who has a limited income, right? That is the first option. You can also do a reinstatement. That basically happens when you have been on default for 6 months, 5 months, not very long, because the amount is going to keep on adding. If you have $20,000, $30,000, it is possible to obtain assistance and grants from government sources, and the homeowner can come up with the remainder of the amount that may be needed to complete the reinstatement, okay? So that way, if your loan was already as affordable as it can be, you can reinstate it, bring the loan current, and avoid foreclosure. The other options would be a short sale, in the case that it's not possible for the homeowner to retain the home. That is what the fewer percentage of people go for, because usually people really do want to keep their house. This is what they save for years and years, and this is where they may have been raised and where they want to raise their kids, and so on and so on.
Now, you do have a foreclosure prevention clinic coming up. Share with us a little bit about that and how people can find out more information.
That is true. We have a clinic that takes place in the Supreme Court building, 6th floor, room 607. The Supreme Court building is located right on the corner of 161st Street and Grand Concourse. You go there, 6th floor, Wednesdays, 1 p.m. through 4, we're there. There will be an attorney always on staff, and there will be a paralegal always on staff as well. If you have received foreclosure papers, you should definitely come there, seek assistance. We provide free legal assistance, like I said. If you have questions concerning home ownership, not only foreclosure, but also if you fear that you have been a victim of a deed theft or you have been a victim of a foreclosure rescue scam, you can come see us and we can see what is it that we can do for you.
And so people get more information. We want to make sure that you go out there and get it because, as we said, many people are in the issue of foreclosure or need to know what their rights are. So take part in this clinic. Once again, the date and the time?
The day and time is Wednesdays, 1 through 4 p.m. Supreme Court Building, 161st and Grand Concourse. We also have a hotline number, and that one is 646-340-1908.
All righty.
And I encourage everyone to call and come to the clinic.
That's right. Heidi Rodriguez, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us, and we hope that our viewers will definitely take advantage of this. Thanks a lot,
Thank
Heidi.
you so much for having me.
All righty. Listen, taking a quick break. We'll be back with more Open coming up right after this.
This is the story of a boy who is very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help, and slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Cheru has no choice. She and millions like her walk miles a day for dirty water. But together, we can end their walk by providing clean water close by. Instead of spending hours walking to get water that makes them sick, girls can be in a classroom and moms will gain back time to care for their families. Sons and daughters can grow up strong, finally free of sicknesses. It's true. When you just add water, you change a life. Learn more at worldvision.org.
Well, for more than 45 years, Grow NYC has encouraged and helped communities create a healthy and sustainable environment through many of their programs. Joining us now to share more about their program and future projects, we welcome now the Director of Grow to Learn NYC, Grow NYC, Chessie Kerr-Vanderslice, and good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Darren.
Great. So for people who don't know about Grow NYC, help us to grow.
Yeah, so Grow NYC has 4 primary initiatives. The green markets are one of our largest programs. We operate local food markets all around the city. Many of them are seasonal. We operate smaller youth markets seasonally, and then lots of them operate year-round as well. We have an alternative waste program where we do textile recycling, composting, recycling in schools, helping reduce the waste stream for New York City, which as a city of 9 million people makes a lot of trash, as you can imagine. We have an environmental education program that works directly with schools, with young people. And then the program that I work closely with, we have a garden initiative, and that works to renovate and rehabilitate community gardens, as well as start and sustain school gardens around the city and our public elementary, middle, and high schools.
So when you talk about school gardens, how do you get people involved?
Yeah, so school gardens, that's my area. We work with close to 700 schools now citywide. So any public or charter school as part of the Department of Education in New York City can get registered with Grow to Learn. And once they're registered, they sign up online, it's free, they submit a letter of support from their principal, a map of the space they're hoping to build out. And then once they're signed up, they can apply to our program for mini grant funding to start or expand their projects. They can come to lots and lots of different trainings to learn how to do all of this cool stuff. We offer social events. And then we also deliver free materials, because you can imagine a garden is something that you have to sustain every single year. So they can pick up soil, lumber, plants, seeds, seedlings, and get started at their school.
What's it like with students buy-in? Because sometimes, you know, they don't always have the green thumb, but you do a good job of wrapping that around for them.
Yeah, I mean, so it's really up to each individual teacher, but I think our teachers that work with us really closely see these as incredible expansion opportunities for their classroom spaces. There's a lot of kids that aren't finding traditional success in school, and a school garden gives them an opportunity to learn in a different way that's hands-on, it's inquiry-based, it involves science and math and all sorts of really exciting outdoor and indoor environments. So really depending on the teacher, they decide what to teach out there, but we find that our students buy in pretty immediately.
I want my producer to go back to these pictures that we just showed, and maybe we can give us a little bit of an understanding of some of the things that we're actually seeing, because some great work that's going on out here. And you know, I just want to see if we can get to a couple of these pictures that we just had. I don't know if I just met. There it is. Okay, so what do we say? Tell us about a little bit what we're seeing here.
Yeah, so this is one of our community garden builds. I think this one's actually in Brooklyn, but we do lots of work here in the Bronx. So in addition to our work in schools, what we do is that we help the Parks Department Green Thumb Initiative, as well as other community gardens around the city, to build out, expand, renovate, create new green infrastructure designs as part of their community gardens. So yeah, these are some of our great community volunteers and our students helping to renovate a garden. Again, gardens are lots of work and often relatively expensive, so it really takes a whole community to keep these spaces up and to continue to build and expand them over time.
Now you use the word expensive, but how expensive can it be to get a garden going?
Right, it's not quite, it's not building a new school building.
Right.
What we really try to do for our schools, and then what Green Thumb at the Parks Department tries to do for community gardens as well, is make this as easy a lift as possible by providing the materials that communities really need to keep these spaces going. So ideally, depending on what you're doing, but ideally you can do a lot of it for free. And the biggest lift is really around the community building that it takes to keep these spaces going. Who's going to weed this space in the summer when you're not at school? Who's going to be watering on a Saturday? That often is the effort it really takes for our communities to maintain these spaces.
And that's one of the hardest challenges you have, huh?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. For schools at least, summer break, spring break, all that kind of thing, it's a tough thing, but I think that's where our community members can really get involved. Schools rely on parents, senior centers next door, community centers to work in partnership with them to help them use and maintain these spaces over time. So I think if folks are either part of a school community or live near a school or live near a community garden, these spaces are always looking for folks to get involved, to help out, to volunteer, to keep them activated and vibrant for the students and the community members that use them.
So for people who want to get connected to you guys, what do they do and how can they be a part?
Yeah, so to check out more information about our green markets, our recycling and composting initiatives, our education initiatives, they should go to Grow NYC's website, which is www.grownYC.org. We have a map of all of our initiatives citywide. You can search your address and find out what's happening near you. I almost guarantee there's something around your neighborhood. And then Grow to Learn has their own website, growtolearn.org. You can search our maps, find out if your school's already engaged. If they're not, we really encourage schools to get signed up with us.
We heard a lot of the term green markets. Before we get out of here, give somebody a little bit of an idea what green markets are all about.
Yeah, so green markets are markets specifically for local farmers, small farmers within a 200-mile radius of New York City. So we're really thinking about changing food systems here. We're thinking about getting out of the big, huge food markets, buying locally from small farmers, buying fresh, healthy produce. And we do have a variety of ways for communities to make this more affordable as well. We offer a Health Bucks initiative. We do accept SNAP and food benefits. So typically a neighborhood will have a market, and if not a year-round market, we do also have these smaller youth markets, which are youth-led mobile markets in our communities.
Well, thank you for coming by and sharing a little bit with us. And of course, the public knows how to get in touch with you, and hopefully it'll be a green summer.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, thank you. All right, listen, taking a quick break. We've got more show coming up. Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this.
This is why you took a second job. Why you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. Why you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's not something you buy.
Or something you take.
In fact, there's only one way to get it.
It has to be given to you, freely.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape. Consent.
If you don't get it, you don't get it. It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
The Lincoln Center for Performing Arts partnered up with the Rockefeller Foundation to present the South Bronx and Central Brooklyn with the Lincoln Center Cultural Innovation Fund. Here now to tell us more about the purpose of what the fund means and what it actually means for the Bronx community, we're pleased to welcome the Executive Vice President of Lincoln Center Education Community Engagement and International, Mr. Russell Granite. And we thank you, Russell, for coming and sharing.
Great.
It's a long title, man.
Yeah, tell me about it. You
Got a
should
lot
see
of
my
work.
business card. It's on 2 lines.
I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Well, listen, we're here talking about the arts, and obviously, this is a very innovative program. And so share with us a little bit about it.
Sure. We believe strongly at Lincoln Center that the arts are in fact a civil right, that they're not a privilege but a right for everyone. And actually Rockefeller himself, we have a quote by him on the side of the building which states, "The arts are not for the privileged few but for the many. They should not exist on the periphery of daily life but in fact at the center of life." And it's, we have an issue here at a place like New York City where we have lots of arts and culture and rich heritage happening in places like the South Bronx and in central Brooklyn, but when we go out, many times we run into people who have never been to Manhattan, who have never taken the train down, who have never been to Lincoln Center. And although we don't define arts and culture by Lincoln Center, we certainly want all residents of New York to understand that Lincoln Center is a home for them. So this particular opportunity came to us through Rockefeller, and it's been a great partnership with them, where we have funded 12 innovative arts projects, 6 in the South Bronx and 6 in central Brooklyn. Really looking at innovation in the arts. How do we redefine and look at future audiences? Because if we don't begin to look at future audiences, our concert halls are going to be empty.
Right.
And we have to be realistic with where people are and what they're interested in. So there's, fabulous artistic programming in the Bronx. We, in this application process, had over 70 arts organizations. And in order to apply, you needed to either reside in these 2 areas or provide programming. So you can imagine sifting through 70 really good proposals. We brought in peer panelists. So we brought in folks who know the community, people from the South Bronx, people from central Brooklyn, to help really define who the grantees would be. So in the first order of business, we were funding 6 partnerships in the South Bronx and 6 in central Brooklyn, and they'll receive somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000.
So let's walk through a few of these. I know that you got the Bronx Academy of Arts and Dance. So they're going to be one of the recipients, huh?
Yeah. So we have 6 in total, and I'm happy to share all 6 of them with you. It's the Bronx Academy of Arts and Dance. It's the Bronx Documentary Center. It's the Bronx Museum of Art, Bronx River Arts Center, the Point Community Development Corporation, and Pergonis Puerto Rican Traveling Theater. I think we have footage for 2 of them, so I think we're going to share a little bit about the Bronx Documentary Center.
Yeah. So I think we do have some footage. We'll probably roll that in a few seconds. But when you get down to the process of getting from 70 down to 6, what was that like?
Right. Not
don't
easy.
have enough show for that, right?
A lot of coffee.
Right.
It really is looking at, there's such good work going out there. We could have funded this, 3 times over. And there, really at the end of the day, there are better programs, there are more programs, I should say, than there is funding attached to it. So what you look at is what is innovation and how do you define innovation within a community? And it's not necessarily reinventing the wheel, but are you thinking about attracting audiences in new ways? Many people are on their phones a lot of times during the day. How do you engage with people in that way? How are you using technology? How are you redefining what an art form is? And so that's important to us. And those who were granted really are looking at how to innovate their practice, to renew what they're currently doing, but to attract a new and different audience. And we've got really smart, engaged young people who the arts, for some reason, for whatever reason, are not an option for them. And we just want to open that door up. It's not even so much that we hope they become opera lovers or classical music lovers, but that they see it as a choice, that they have an option, that it's not for other people, that good arts and culture, quality arts and culture is for everyone.
And when we talk about New York City, obviously, one of the things that we talk about, especially in the public school system, is one of the first things that gets cut on the chopping block, whether it's in budgets or not, are always music and the arts. And so what does it mean for you to be able to take the arts and take it out of places like the boroughs that we have, the Bronx and Brooklyn, and synergize those right in New York City, right at the heart of Lincoln Center?
Well, we work extensively in schools as well. Over the, we've worked in, I would say over the last 50 years, we've probably worked in almost every school in New York City. So we have had a long-standing commitment and partnership, and a really good partnership with the Department of Education. And oftentimes, you do have programs like arts programs, physical ed programs, foreign language programs. Those are oftentimes the 3 programs to get cut first. The mayor, the chancellor are committed to arts education, so we are seeing a rise in arts activity in schools, which is terrific. But we got to start. If you start in kindergarten and 1st grade, then by the time they become adults, there's a sense of, oh, this is for me, and I want to participate in the arts in every capacity. And the work in the Bronx, and just hearing the sort of all the folks that you've had on your show today, one of the things that we're looking to do is to bring people together who are interested and dedicated to the wellness of a community. Because what happens in communities like the South Bronx, a lot of resources are poured into these communities. Oftentimes the residents either don't know, they'll say nothing is happening in their community, or you've got someone who's really savvy and understands the system who's taking advantage, as they should, with all the kinds of opportunities. So what we're looking to do is bring together folks who are providing opportunities, in our case in the arts, but I would love to bring everyone together to say, how are we affecting the community, not just through arts and culture, but through wellness, through drug prevention, through not being able to, finding out how to way to keep your home if you're about to lose your home. I think if we're serious about really helping communities, we've got to work in less siloed ways.
Yeah. And a little bit about the Rockefeller Foundation.
Yeah, well, we couldn't do the work without the Rockefeller Foundation. Yeah. They are an incredible partner. They have a huge commitment to arts and culture. And obviously, as our first president of Lincoln Center, John D. Rockefeller III, we have a long-standing commitment and relationship with them. And they've been just an incredible partner in this.
So for people who want to find out more information before we close the segment, what do they do?
Website. Everything's on a website.
There you go.
You can call me, but I prefer you use the website.
Right.
It's lincolncenter.org, and within it, we have a Lincoln Center Cultural Innovation Grant.org website as well. But call us. We're happy to direct you and let you know when these programs are happening.
So now the 6th, when will we be seeing them, and when will we be catching them?
Right away.
Okay.
I mean, these programs, they really sort of stagger start dates. So I would check with their individual websites as far as their individual start dates. But these programs are starting immediately, and then will be for the next 12 months.
Russell, great to have you.
Yeah, good to have you.
You gotta come back.
Yeah, anytime.
All right.
Anytime.
Russell Granite, our guest here, and we want to thank him for sharing with us. And listen, we want to let you know, unfortunately, yes, we've come to the end of our show today. We want to thank all of our guests for joining us, but most of all, I want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the Recablecast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum's Channel 67, Verizon Files Channel 33, or anytime on the web. You can catch us at BronxNet.org. For all of us here on the set of Open, I'm Darren Jaime saying take it safe, keep this channel wide open, take care, and God bless.
Troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the eye.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you. Open up your books to page 360.
Did you just look at your phone while you was in class? You played yourself.
Talking about inspirational quotes.
You gotta believe in yourself. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Louise, can you give me an example of an inspirational quote?
Don't play yourself. The key is to make it.
And who said that?
I did. Now that's a major key alert.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at getschool.com.
Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.